So, since you already know who you're going to fight, but it's like too early to start a real fight camp. What's your training look like?
No, I've been training, but yeah, the fight's new. The fight's new news to me. I haven't really studied his film much, but I'm always training. I was over in Afghanistan for about 2 weeks, and we were training constantly there. And I'm always training, so it's really kind of a matter of start to, really get set into a routine with conditioning and everything back into fight camp. But no, yeah, I'm excited. It's coming up here on January 4th. Mm-hmm.
So, different from the camp that you actually gonna do. How is it? Does your ordinary day look like? So compared to like if you're in fight camp, is it just the intensity that's gonna get up, or do we have like different routines?
Yeah, as far as my routine goes, with a fight scheduled, you really don't. I don't have a lot of free time, as much as I would if I didn't have a fight schedule. So, typically training twice a day, and excuse me. But yeah, 8 weeks usually pretty much planned out. Every day is scheduled, so you know what you're gonna do. There's no surprises really, and it's kind of just listening to your body, see how you feel throughout those 8 weeks, but there's not a whole big difference besides just having more of a set routine with training rather than training as you please.
Saffiedine is a very dangerous and good guy, but he's not very well known. Are you hesitant when you offered fights like that, or do you just go like, I'll fight whoever they put in front of me?
Well, yeah, everyone's dangerous. I do believe. I mean, you're dangerous. This guy behind the camera, he's dangerous as well, but. Saffiedine, he is maybe not as well known because he hasn't been on the same platform as the UFC, but really means nothing. And that doesn't mean anything. I've heard, we have a lot of mutual friends and coaches as well, so I know he's he wouldn't be fighting at this level if he wasn't a formidable opponent. So.
In general, it'll be almost half a year that you've last fought. Are you okay with gaps like that to improve and train and heal up and stuff, or would you rather like to as far as time goes?
Yeah, I don't mind for sure. I had a couple injuries, kind of leading up to the last fight, and it's like there's really no way to kind of completely heal up and move on until you just take a little bit of time off. So, as far as especially. Most fighters, especially guys who've wrestled, they come from that overtraining background. You're constantly training, you always want to do more. And even for me, it's like, it's hard to take time off. And really, like I said, to kind of completely heal an injury or anything that's nagging, you have to take time off. And so it was good for me, though. It's good to take time off, kind of get your mind away, reset, and move forward.
What's your mindset going to a fight like this? I mean, is it just another fight, or do you feel like because you lost your last fight, you have to, because the general consensus is like you have to prove a point in that fight, so doesn't that bother you, or does it affect you, or is it just another fight for you?
I really didn't think about that until you reminded me, so I appreciate that. But no, it really, every fight's important, it really is. So you gotta take it. For me, I've taken every fight one fight at a time throughout my whole career, so that hasn't changed. But every fight's important, it really is. I wouldn't say I look at any fight differently. Whether you're the first fight on the undercard or you're the main event, it's still going to be an important fight and a crucial fight. So for me, I'm going to look at it as the same.
So and after fight, no matter if win or lose, how long does it usually take for you to realize what actually happened and to put it into like a greater picture of your career? And when do you start to like go back to the drawing board and fix problems or look at what you've done good?
That's a good question. You kind of reflect usually about the week after. Everything happens so fast, and in the adrenaline, and your mind's kind of spinning throughout the fight week. But it usually takes about a week to kind of let the dust settle. You reflect on on the competition and everything leading up to it. So that's when you can start making adjustments. And really, you never want to make decisions on an emotion, which is within the 24 to 48 hour period of after a fight. Let the dust settle. Usually about a week, you can kind of have a little bit more of a clear mind and move forward from there.
So do you often go like you watch the fight and you go like, did I really do that? Or like, do you remember everything of the fight?
Yeah, I don't know. Typically, I don't usually remember everything, but I do see things, and I'm like, well, you could be like, why did I couldn't even tell you why I did that. I don't know why I did that, but at the time it seemed like it was a good decision. But that's the thing about fighting too. It's you're constantly battling yourself, and you start to get tired. Things you start to get a little complacent. That's natural. Everybody does. It's something you really can't control. So really finding the discipline, in training, you have to mimic the fight in training and to stay disciplined throughout that, the competition. But going back to your question, though, to kind of reflect after the fight and see what you did, why you did that. It's just kind of ways to move forward and there's room for improvement. Even leading up, like I said, the 8 weeks leading up to a fight, you can kind of see what you could do better. You could always do something better, whether it's get more sleep and have a better routine, whether it's just working more time with a specific coach. There's always room for improvement, but it takes a little bit of time to move forward and after the fight and reflect.
How do you feel about public expectations? So what is important to you when you fight? Is it like you want to be seen as a dangerous fighter or like the best fighter of all time? Or is it do you really just care about what your friends and family and training partners have to say about you as a fighter?
Everyone's different. That's a good question too, because every fighter is different. Yeah, and it kind of just comes down to what do you value? What do you what's the most important to you? And I mean, obviously in this sport, winning is a lot of it. You have to win, and at the same time, you got to you have to take risks. The reality is to be an exciting fighter, you have to take risks. And you see guys like George St. Pierre, and a lot of people like to criticize him, but what he does so well. He's very efficient in what he does. So it's kind of that whole risk-reward factor. I mean, for me, I've always kind of been the same fighter, but I've been much more conscious and aware of things that I need to improve on, whether it's defense, stuff like that. But for me personally, I don't put a lot of thought into what the public thinks.
Okay, obviously, all fighters basically respect other fighters, but someone like George St. Pierre, who most of the time plays it pretty safe, do you have like a different kind of respect for him, as somebody like who's really somebody who takes a lot of risks and is like really exciting? So do you differ in how you see these fighters?
Well, for George specifically, everyone likes to criticize him, and I've always kind of been one to defend him a little bit because I can't really make a judgment. I'm not in his position. You know what I mean? How would I fight if I was defending world champion for as long as he has? It might be a different story, but that's something more he has to acknowledge in himself with the organization, with Dana White and Lorenzo. But like I said, he's efficient and he does what he does very well. So again, I can't really make a fair judgment on that just because I'm not in his position. You know what I mean? So it's one of those. And we're not sure how much longer he's going to fight as well. So that's like I said, it varies fighter to fighter.
Okay, and right before a fight, when you stand behind the curtain, ready to walk out, what's going through your mind? What's your mindset at that moment, right before the fight?
A lot of visualizing. For me, and like I said, I can only speak on my behalf. Really visualizing, and it's something that you should have been doing. You've kind of visualized the same thing for weeks now, so it shouldn't be anything new. Everything's familiar. You're really trying to stay focused too. Not letting distractions get in the way, whether it's the crowd or there's so many variables coming into a fight. It's like you got to have that laser focus walking into the octagon.
Some guys have like rituals before a fight. So then how do you used to tidy up his whole room before he started the fight camp? So do you have any rituals like that you always do before a fight or before fight camp?
No, not before for training. No, but I do the day of the fight. I usually before the even into the locker room. I'll find an area where I can just relax and basically stay as calm and relaxed as possible. You know, a lot of people get really anxious and hyped up, and then their heart rate gets high. For me, I'm the opposite. I usually be sleeping. I lay down, relax, not even think about the fight. You know, I'm usually joking around with my teammates and stuff, and I actually do go through this visualization I do with one of my good friends. He's a sports psychologist, and he talks about focus, and it's something you just gotta kind of, like I said, it's like training physically. It's more of a mental train, but I do it before every fight. You know, you kind of do some meditation and really take anything else in your mind, any type of distraction in your mind, and really let it go. And it takes, you know, that takes a lot of energy out away from you. So you're not wasting your energy on things that really don't matter. Just specifically focusing on the fight. Mm-hmm.
So do you have like an ultimate goal in the sport? Do you want to be a champion, or do you want to have a certain legacy, or do you want to be seen as a certain type of fighter, like when you've retired and you look back on your career?
You know, I just want to really just fight the easiest guys and really become as famous as I can and make money. So, did you believe me when I said that?
Not really.
Did I sell that? Okay. No, my goal's been the same since day one, to become world champion, you know what I mean? And this is the toughest sport in the world. It's the hardest sport in the world to be consistent at. It really is. And that's been my goal. You know, I could become world champion and retire and never fight another day in my life. But I don't do it for the money. I don't do it for the fame. I don't. Specifically the accomplishment. You know, that world title would be a lifelong goal and a lifelong dream. So that's been the same for me.
And do you have like a timeline for your career? So do you go like when I'm 35 or 40, I'm going to retire, or do you want to just stay as long as your body holds up? And
well, that's hard to say. Every year I kind of have a different age or a timeline of when I'm going to be done fighting, but that consistently changes. You know, but I gotta continue to make adjustments. I would say, you know, and then in 2 years I'll probably make a different number or an age, but you know, kind of see how I feel, but I don't want to be fighting when I'm 35. No.
So let's say you get the opportunity to fight Rory MacDonald again. Like if he has like lost a few fights and he's not just that hyped up anymore, and you somehow get to, you can choose between fighting him and some guy who's like really close to a title shot. So would you rather go for that guy and maybe get a title shot afterwards, or would you rather redeem your fight against Rory MacDonald?
No, you know, I would for sure like to fight Rory again. But you know, for me, it just fights that got to make sense. You know, I mean, this is a business, and like I said, my goal is to become world champion, and I don't want to waste my time fighting people that are really irrelevant. You know, when you're in the top 10, you want to fight the top 10 guys, and who do I got to fight to get to the title? That's you know, that's a conversation that I have with Joe Silva. Is, you know, who do I got to fight? And we've done it a few times. You know, I've won 6, and then I'll get bumped down, and then I'll win a few more. And so you get these speed bumps. Like I said, it's the hardest sport in the world to be consistent at. But you know, eventually, I'm confident we'll get there. So I'm more focused on guys that are going to get me to the title.
Is there anybody you like really want to fight, like a specific person for whatever reason, for personal reasons, or just because you always wanted to fight him?
No, not really.
What's your like relationship to your opponents usually like? So do you like to build up a dislike during camp so you can like fight them better for yourself, or do you just see it as a professional sport and just be friends with them afterwards?
Well, you know, there's opponents in my weight class that, you know, that I like, and there's some that you just really don't like, and it just depends. You know, I mean, I'm again focused on winning, but there's just a lot of nonsense in this sport, and a lot of people that are that have different motivations, different reasons for saying the things they say. But you know, for me, it's all business.
And what would you say was your toughest fight so far, and what specifically did you learn from that specific fight? That specific fight?
My toughest fight's was Diego Sanchez, probably, for sure. He's just the guy. You know, I don't know if you saw his last fight against Gilbert Melendez, but you know, that's just a perfect example of how tough this guy really is. And it's more it's more of a psychological battle, if you will, than a physical, because the guy. One thing I was impressed with him is, I would hit him with some good body shot. Any type of strike that you could tell it did hurt him. It wasn't like a maybe it hurt. No, it did. But you wouldn't be able to tell because he shows no emotion. His facial expression never changed. And we talked afterwards and stuff. And he's a nice guy too. But he's by far the toughest guy that I've fought so far.
Would you say you are the hardest hitter in the UFC? Because there seems to be an argument right now if it's you or Johnny Hendricks, because you could make an argument for both of you, because you almost knocked Carlos Condit out, who has a pretty good chin, and Hendricks couldn't even hurt him, and the other way around, he knocked Kampmann out, and you hurt him, but you didn't knock him out. So you could make an argument for both of you to be the hardest hitter in the welterweight division.
Yeah, well, to answer your first question, I am definitely the hardest hitter in the UFC, but Carlos Condit, he has an amazing chin. He is one of the toughest guys in our division. He really is. The guy's been hit with everything. And he really. Another thing, he if you watch a lot of his fights that he's been dropped in, even our fight the first time, he keeps his composure very well, and a lot like Diego. So he would actually be up there for one of the toughest guys that I fought too. But Johnny and I, we were scheduled to fight at one time. I don't know if you remember this, but we were scheduled to fight. And I want to say maybe 3 weeks before the fight, he was really negotiating for a fight with Condit when the card kind of got shuffled around. And that's when I fought Nate Marquardt instead of Johnny. But I was really looking forward to that one. And hopefully we still meet, whether he wins against GSP or not, I'm sure we will meet.
Do you see your knockout power as like your main weapon, and your other skills are built around that to use that knockout power? Or do you see it more like a bonus? So if other stuff doesn't work, or you have the opportunity to land that big punch, which way is it? Is it for you?
I think having the power, it's definitely a good. It's a good, like I said, more of a psychological tool. But I've been continually growing with my jiu-jitsu on my grappling. Basically well-rounded. I'm trying to continue to grow my skills everywhere. But I think the biggest thing that I've been focusing on right now is just my speed, getting faster. I have an unbelievable boxing coach in Muay Thai. So for me, getting faster, because I think really there's such a small separation with the top 5 guys in the world, and for me, I've just been completely focused on getting faster. And like I said, speed, power, it's a good tool, but it doesn't really mean a lot unless you have the speed that goes with it.
So, and your next fight, like you said, it's going to be in January in Singapore. Mm-hmm. And what does it mean to you to be part of the global expansion of the UFC, because it's the first event in Singapore, and you're the main event? Sure,
no, it's an honor. It really is. Just to be part of, exactly like you said, the global expansion of the UFC. Being an ambassador for the UFC, it's an honor. So I think, for them to put me in that position, it really, and to grow the sport, not only just the awareness of the UFC, but you're growing, a sport that has been that I really have a passion about. So it's really an honor.
And is it some kind of distraction if you're fighting there? So do you go like it's cool to go elsewhere and see different places, but at the same time it's maybe harder to make weight because you don't know where saunas are and you don't know how the food is. You're going to react to the food. So doesn't that bother you a little bit, or do you see the positive sides as?
Well, it's hard to say because the things for me too. It's hard because it's more of the foods. Your meals. You're not really sure what you can find here, what you can eat. It's just the traveling is really, you kind of get used to the traveling. You adjust to the time, whatever. But when you're dieting and making a weight, you're working out. So it's really trying to keeping the same kind of fuel in your body throughout the rest of the camp until you fight. So that's really been the biggest challenge.
Speaking of the development of the UFC, how would you like the UFC to develop? Stay rather small and stay like it is, like with all the setups and how it's working, or would you like it to go mainstream? Maybe have some restrictions or some things changing, like it does when stuff goes mainstream, like with football. You've got certain restrictions that you didn't have before because you just had a small group of people who was watching.
Well, you know, I think Dana and the UFC's done a fantastic job with growing the sport, and I think it should be global. You know, it's really, you know, and Dana likes to say fighting is in our blood, and it really is. It's the most entertaining sport in the world. It really is, and this is coming from the fan perspective of me. It's watching fights. They're fun to watch. They're exciting, and I think, you know, you got the most highly trained fighters in the world. I think it's going to continue to grow. It's going to take, you know, eventually I think it'll be the largest sport in the world. And I agree with what they've been doing, and as far as their global expansion, it's been fantastic. You know, they're going to Asia, and they should continue to grow. But I don't think I think they're doing a great job. You know, it's gonna completely exceed all of my expectations as well as my career. It's gonna, after I'm done fighting. You know, hopefully they'll give me a job, and maybe I can still do something for the UFC.
That would be my next question. Like, would you like to stay in the sport after you retire, or would you rather go and get like a normal job? So you basically answer.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. I've been doing I've been looking into doing some broadcasting after my career. So, and like I said, it's always changing as far as when I'm going to be done fighting. I'm not really sure, but yeah, I would love to continue to work with the UFC when I'm done fighting.
And last but not least, like, can you give us a prediction once for the Munoz-Machida fight tonight, and then for your fight against Tarek Saffiedine?
Well, I'm going to go with Munoz by submission. First or second round. But Munoz by submission. I think that's, and I'm confident in that. And you know, and I'm a big fan of Machida. I like him as well. He's a great guy. We've actually trained with him quite a bit too. So, nothing but good things to say about the guy. He's a tricky guy to figure out. He really is. But you know, I think if Mark can get this fight where he's comfortable on the ground, there's absolutely no way that he won't finish this fight.
And how do you predict your fight to end?
Well, I don't know if you remember when Mike Tyson used to fight, but I'm going to go with the left hook by knockout.
Which round?
Tyson left hook.
In which round?
You have to watch.
All right, I'll do. So yeah, that's weird.
Very good.